Hello, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor of CropLife and CropLife Iron, here with Lara Sowinski, who apparently got the memo. Green shirts is what we're doing today. Laura, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back home.
I was gonna say that I'm gonna actually start off this week's video kicking it over to you because I guess you were in a familiar place in San Diego, California, attending the CPDA and CropLife America annual meeting. So,
Yep.
if you could give our viewers who might not have been there themselves some of the takeaways, highlights, and key points of interest from that meeting.
I will. Thank you. Yeah, it was good to be back in the.
In the Golden State and familiar haunt of San Diego. Honestly, I just can't thank Terry Kipley and CPDA enough. It was a fantastic meeting, just chock full of great content, great speakers. Um, just everything was wonderful. So Terry and Kara, both Greg Leaf, just thank you for your hospitality. It was awesome. I just got back last night, Eric, as you know, so I have so much good stuff. But as you mentioned, definitely want to give some highlights of what we heard at the annual meeting. And I kind of quickly went through some of my notes, and there were three key topics amongst many, but three that I have some good notes on, and those pertain to labor, uh, clean data, and the herbicide strategy just released by the EPA with regards to the Endangered Species Act. So,
Mm-hmm.
on day one of the meeting, we started with the senior executive panel and four all star panelists: Jeff Bunting of Growmark, Dr. Paul Bonnet of Nutrien Ag Solutions, Amy Tasing of Wilbur Ellis, and Leah Anderson of Winfield United. And on these three topics of labor, clean data, as well as the ESA, which was a prominent theme throughout the meeting, I have some little highlights from each of these four speakers that I wanted to just share with everyone. So I started with Jeff. So in addition to this is how great it was for me as from Crop Life being there. Not only did we get to be there and hear the meeting and the panel, but Terry was kind enough to arrange one-on-one interviews for me with each of these panelists. So I got to really kind of delve in deep. So without any prompting, just kind of started with the general question, what are the biggest challenges? What do what's working, what's not kind of thing. And Jeff offered up labor right away as the biggest challenge for Growmark. So, number one, kind of that retaining and recruiting top talent. He really said that was something key. But it's not all doom and gloom. Sure, it's a tight labor market. But he did mention, particularly with the younger folks coming into ag, he said, a lot of them are gamers. A lot of them are really savvy with even like consumer drones. He goes, they are, they just glob onto this stuff very easily. They take to it, and it's been really helpful as they have, a lot of their staffing now is comprised. They have a lot of young people coming in, and he said, as far as change management, adapting to new softwares and systems that Growmark is putting in place, he says it's been really encouraging seeing these young people embrace it, take to it very easy. There's not a considerable learning curve, if you will. So again, per Jeff at Growmark, labor is still one of those top things. Paul Bonnet over at Nutrien Ag kind of said the same thing. So we kind of talked about, where does AI play a role in maybe easing some of that labor component, amongst other things that ag retailers are facing. he did emphasize something about, this thing of with data, and we've talked about it before, but for me it really stood out because each of these speakers, as well as others during these last few days, mentioned that, as we look to AI more as a problem solver, like anything, for years, garbage in, garbage out. So that emphasis on clean data, gathering clean data, making sure that what you're feeding AI, if you will, is clean in order to get the results that are accurate and that you're going to make decisions upon. So, um, and so on that, clean data in, clean data out kind of thing, Paul did mention that if you don't have that local data in particular around soil, around yield, it doesn't matter how great the AI is. You need to feed it the local data as well. So he wanted to make sure that that was part of this conversation about clean data. Likewise, he said, AI has a role whereby, farmers, retailers, the whole ag community is already having to adapt and adopt to so many different parts of the business now. Data being, now we're sitting in front of a screen, we're, interfacing with, autonomous vehicles, that whole thing. He said where AI can really help is to take all of the complexity of what we're dealing with now and to simplify it. So he says AI working to improve that user experience, whereby the complexities in the background, and again, kind of take that workload, if you will, off the user. He says that's another area that we need to focus on. That AI can help with rather than kind of um, you know serve as a challenge or a barrier. Um, Amy Thasing talked about late labor as well. Um, I had talked to her after the panel, and I said, "Well, how bad is labor?" Having heard like, "Oh, labor was," and she goes, "It's not great." I loved how she kind of said that, but she did say, there's a lot of dimensions to it. It's not just the salaries and the cost of a head count, if you will. It's the cost of benefits, i.e., healthcare, inflation that has contributed to that. The onboarding process. I mean, it's just more expensive. It's there's a dual challenge of not only attracting young people to ag, but the cost of labor across the board is a challenge. Um, we also talked about uh, big data as well, and she did say that ag tech is actually a draw again for young people, like labor and technology, similar to Jeff, whereby young people obviously they grew up with it, so it's a little bit easier for them, and it's exciting for them as well. She did talk about, obviously, though, that technology and the human intervention, the human interface, I mean, those two have to work together. Ag tech is not necessarily about replacing labor, it's working in tandem with. And a big theme of the program this year for CPDA was collaboration as well. So this kind of hit on that. Um, so again, Amy said it's not one or the other, it needs to be both. And she did say something that stood out for me as well. She's mentioned that she's been waiting for big tech to try and solve, and we as an industry have been waiting for big tech to solve some of our data harmonization challenges. So she said that still is an area that needs to be addressed, and once that is unlocked, there's a lot of power there if you can combine those data sets. So harmonizing that data, a huge opportunity as well. And then lastly, and we'll see a clip here in a minute, Leah Anderson from Winfield United. She when she was speaking on the panel, she was talking about we were talking about companies allocating funding and investment for technology, and she said, you can't really separate the two. Like, we'll put money here over here for technology, and then we'll put money over here for R&D or whatever. She said, it just, you have to think of them as one. I mean, technology underpins really so much of what's happening, not just within ag and ag companies, but obviously virtually every sector across the board. But she does come from a technology background, and she did kind of caution, and we've heard this before, is to make sure we're not introducing technology for technology's sake. Be really crystal clear on the problem that we're trying to solve, and uh, so that something that she mentioned, as well as making sure that the data was clean and standardized and flowing smoothly. And again, that was, again, I can't say it enough because it was constant throughout these last few days. Now that we're at this point with technology and data, it's got to be clean. It's got to be clean. She says that Winfield United, they collect 6 million data points each year. So you can imagine how important that is, as she said, that it has to be clean. So much in the way of decision making and support for things comes from data. So this is really important. She also mentioned on AI, they've been seeing it helping with onboarding new employees, and whether that's translation services for new employees that maybe English isn't their first language. Likewise, helping them during the onboarding uh, time to understand, safety things, and just kind of like an AI assist. What can we have them assist? What can we have it assist with? She said she's seeing a lot of AI applications in other areas of HR, um, writing job descriptions, posting on hiring boards, and a lot of admin kind of support. So those are some of the takeaways. Again, there's so much more that I'll be able to go through. Let's take a listen to this clip from Leah Anderson. She's talking about activating sellers. She's talking about technology, helping them to not get burned out, and again, using data that's clean to support good decision making in farming. So, again, Leah Anderson from Winfield United. Let's take a listen.
We must help them be more efficient, help them get to the point where they're not burning out and they feel like they have to quit their job. Use tools and technology to take the insights and the data we have, bring them to life, and activate people locally where the real work gets done. Jerry mentioned this earlier. Also using the data on behalf of the industry, on behalf of what we're all trying to accomplish together, to make sure that we can move that regulatory needle. This is not just selfish about us being able to sell more of our things. This is about helping all of us make sure that our regulators, our policymakers understand what actually needs to happen to make farming happen and to feed the world, making sure that they understand our science and getting safe, proven technologies approved for use as farmers grow their acres across the U.S. Thanks again to those that helped participate in our event. It was really a success for all of us as we got adjuvants approved as part of the guidelines around drift. I'll end here, kind of where I started. We are a cooperative. Everything we do is on behalf of our owners, making sure that they're successful so that we are. Thank you so much.
So that was Leah and a couple of her PowerPoint slides here during the panel discussion. And the last thing, Leah did mention talking about, and as you heard her say, using data to move the regulatory needle. And, during the conference, again, we were invited to attend as well. The recent release of the herbicide strategy from the EPA, and certainly CPDA's work to advocate for drift reduction technology adjuvants as a mitigation tool, and for compliance with the ESA. That was a huge, that was just a part of everything, every panel. We were talking about the ESA, whether it's staffing at the ESA, other regulatory challenges, the people part of it, the timing, the competitiveness of the U.S. ag community, and slowing down the process for the reasons either due to staffing, et cetera, and how that impacts our competitiveness against folks, outside of the U.S. I mean, there was a lot of things that we talked about. I did want to mention, not only in our CropLife October issue, um, I have an interview both with Alex Dunn, the CEO of CropLife America. I talk about that in my editor's column. I also have Scott Rollins from the CPDA talking about some of the impacts and kind of the ABCs of ESA, as we're calling it, which, as you know, we're going to be covering in a special report with the CPDA as well. We'll do a special report, and that will be part of CropLife's December issue. And then we have a couple of webinars that we're doing on this topic. We're going to be covering this pretty intently. We have our first webinar November 15th. Details to come on that. It'll be a panel discussion on the EPA's herbicide strategy and overall what they're doing with regards to compliance with the ESA. So yeah, that's exciting. And I think that's all I could talk about at this moment. But like I said, there's just so much, and it was such a good program. Great to be out of the office and meeting with people, and we'll have a lot of coverage on what we learned at the annual meeting, as well as our upcoming special report on the ABCs of ESA.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you for that, Laura. Yeah, it sounds jam-packed. I know while you were out and about, as was I. I know as you were running around the beautiful sunny parts of California, I was in central Ohio, actually. Every year at this time of year in September, they have the Farm Science Review on the Molly Caron Fairgrounds, which is just west of Columbus in the state of Ohio, my home state. And one of the speakers there, of course, is Barry Ward from The Ohio State University. And every year Barry gives a talk at this event. And this year, the one thing he was talking about was a little bit, somebody asked him a question regarding 2025 crop input costs and potential profitability for growers. So here is a video clip of Barry talking about those topics and what he thinks.
Yeah, seed, we don't see any major swings. We typically see just some nominal changes in seed costs, more for those, and especially the newer genetics. I mean, you see that showing up. Chemical, just before I came up here, I talked to a good friend out here that was sharing that there may be, even more cost decreases in some of the products out there. Now, that's going to vary by, your own particular relationships with your own suppliers, but there's going to be some under pressure. We've got a lot of generics out there in the sector, and a supply of those can lead to some of these lower prices. And we saw that from 23 into 24. So that's one of those pieces that I don't think we're going to see at least a lot of increase, and perhaps you may see some decrease. Fertilizer, it's a mixed bag. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, potash. The potash market, I'll start with that. Generally, global supplies are very good. So we're seeing some pretty good buying opportunities now, and likely that's not going to end through the fall. So there's probably going to be some good buying opportunities in potash. Nitrogen, that's also a mixed bag. We're looking at a lot of product in Ohio being either 28 liquid or anhydrous ammonia. Not a lot of urea utilized on our row crops in Ohio, but it's a global marketplace. We're competing with all countries in South America and all those Asian countries that utilize a lot of urea and other things. So it's a balance, and right now it's fairly evenly balanced, at least from what I've been reading and understanding. So I think the crop price and the margin outlook is going to also, well, it's going to be the primary factor, I think, going forward in terms of directing nitrogen price. The other thing is natural gas. It's also not at a real pain point, so that should help alleviate some problems as far as nitrogen pricing. Phosphate's the difficult one. We've got some global tightness in the phosphate market, and there's a number of reasons for that. We've got a lot of curtailment of exports coming out of Russia and also China, and that, not that phosphate's a big problem there, but there's some geopolitical issues that are also increasing some of the prices, especially nitrogen in that Middle East, all that's going on there. So fertilizer, mixed bag, but I think overall the total cost per acre is flat to lower.
So that's what Barry Ward had to say, Laura. Again, as he described 2025 is his early read. It's going to be a mixed bag. There'll be some positive, there'll be some negative, but the big takeaway is although grower incomes are expected to be down, he says that based on the early read, the cost of production for growers will be lower than it was in 24 and 23. So that will be a plus. So
Yeah, for sure. Yep, mixed bag.
mixed bag, yes. We're going to hear that a lot, I suspect.
I think so.
So, hey, one other thing, I guess, is a mixed bag. This is that time of year, of course, when you've been talking about our December issue, and I have been knee-deep in trying to get folks to get information back to me for our annual CropLife 100 survey. So I'm happy to report about 70% of the ag retailers have gotten me back their forms, but I'm still missing 30%. So by the time this video airs, the missing 30% should have the third requests from me. So please try to get those forms filled in and sent back to me by the end of September, early October, so I can put all the information in a database, like you were talking about, clean data. I want clean data. I want to be able to enter it all, so I have something to write about in our December issue. But I did want to mention I found out a little bit information about the number 100 company from last year's CropLife 100. That was Wickman Chemical of Iowa. I actually found out when I sent them their form that they have decided to sell their business. This was a husband and wife team. Eric and Tammy Wickman started the company in 1998, but now they've decided to sell to our friends at Landis Cooperative, also in Iowa. So as of October 1st, Wickman will be part of the Landis group of companies. So the number 100 company from 2023 will not be there in 2024's ranking. But our congratulations to them for all the years that they were a part of the CropLife 100. So good luck to the Wickmans.
Yeah, that's great. Good luck as well.
All right. Yeah.
We'll be with you.
All right, Miss Laura.
Yeah.
So hey, we've been throwing out a lot of information in this video. So let us end with the fun part of the video. Hopefully, time for
who?
Okay, fun for me.
I'm teasing you.
Time for fun with numbers.
All right, I have my lucky pen today, so I think I got
okay,
it right last week. So let's go for.
You did. We'll see if you can get two in a row. So your number this week is 17%.
Okay.
All right. So Miss Laura, is 17%, is that A, the percentage of Farm Science Review exhibitors that increased their booth space for this year's show? Is it B, the decrease in grain barge traffic on the Mississippi River through the end of August? Is it C, the increase in rail grain traffic through the end of August? Or is it D, the percentage of time Lara Sowinski said the phrase, "I used to live there," during her recent trip to San Diego?
Oh, well, that was much higher, so I think we could disqualify D. I just saw something about barge traffic being down on the Mississippi, but I wasn't paying attention to the percent. But I kind of have a feeling it may be B.
You are correct. See, paying attention to the news always helps with fun with numbers. Yes, congratulations. Yeah, there was an article I ran across that talked about 60% of the U.S. grain exports go down via barge on the Mississippi River, and that because of all the drought conditions that we've been experiencing across the Midwest and in the United States in general this year, that the water levels in the Mississippi are much lower than normal. And according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, in their grain transportation report that was put out on August 31st, 480,750 tons of grain moved by barge down the Mississippi River through that date, but that was a 17% drop from what had been seen previous on the river. So. Again, we've talked about the drought conditions. I know that they've been pretty prevalent even here in Ohio. I mean, normally when I'm driving down to the Farm Science Review event, the combines are not finished in the field. They're just starting harvest. But there were a lot of fields I passed that were empty, that they had already been harvested. And so, yeah, it's an issue. Hopefully we'll get some rainfall here in the rest of the fall and get those water levels back up so we can start moving the grain down the river again.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's been a problem in the last few years, if not longer, but more prominent. So yeah, hoping for rain.
Yes, praying for rain.
Yep.
All right, well, that's all we have for this edition of CropLife Retail Week. On behalf of myself and everyone at the CropLife Media Group, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again soon.
If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.